We welcome you to another edition of the Mike Houston Radio Show as we operate live from Kickin' Chicken's West Ashley location. And we welcome you here this evening for the next hour. And we're going to talk a lot about the game that the Citadel has coming up. Finally back to football as they're ready to roll on Saturday night as they will take on Charleston Southern. A mere 17 miles separate CSU Stadium and Johnson Haygood Stadium, so it is a very short road trip for the Bulldogs. I was just curious, Coach, what your travel plans are and what hotel you chose and all those sorts of things. So
actually, we're going to treat it like a home game with just a little bit longer ride to the stadium. So, I do think it's good being able to play the game against the other Division I football program in the city of Charleston. And it's an exciting matchup, and we're looking forward to Saturday night.
We got a lot to talk about, lots of notes to go over with regards to this particular football game. I would ask, first of all, though, and, sometimes you kind of get a feel for the way a coach will answer a question, but you ask a question anyway, and that would be to say, do you position this game as one that you feel like is a must-win type of a game?
Well, if you ask anybody that's around me very much, I feel that way every week. I tell the kids, and I firmly believe this, that, this game is the biggest game of the year this week because it's the only game we play. And you can't worry about last week, can't worry about the week after, and every single game counts the same, no matter which one it is. And so we just try to take it, and I know it's, cliche to say one at a time, but that's the way you have to treat it. There's just too much goes into these games. So, it's a big game this week.
You went through a very intense camp, and guys were itching to hit someone else. Does this resemble that to a degree because you played two, then had a week in between your next game? So does it feel a little bit like camp when the guys are just ready to play someone?
A little, and, you always worry about a bye week this early in the season because you start building momentum as the season goes along. You start getting rhythm. And, kind of getting in sync with each other. And nothing gets you in sync like playing a football game. I mean, you cannot simulate it in practice. And so it does feel a little bit like camp in that it's been 14 days by the time we line up Saturday night since Florida State. And, so we're excited to get back out there and continue our progress because I felt like we did make improved great in strides from week 1 to week 2.
And I think a lot of people saw that as well. Wanted to remind folks here a couple of different housekeeping items. First of all, we'll be joining the Atlanta Braves broadcast right after this one is finished up at the top of the hour. Also wanted to remind you we have a new telephone number to dial in if you want to ask a question of the coach tonight, and that is 725-0989. 725-0989 if you want to get a question in for the coach here tonight. We're happy to take your calls all throughout the hour, and a lot of things that we want to talk about with regards to our broadcast here this evening. There's a familiarity between the staffs, between Charleston Southern and the Citadel, and lots of things going on with regards to the program. One thing that I looked at with regards to statistics is that you and another Southern Conference school, Wofford, are leading the nation right now in terms of rushing average per ball game. So 304 rushing yards per ball game. There's Wofford with the same average, but no one else in FCS football is doing any better than that.
Well, it's pretty good company to be in, and I never look at stats, to be honest with you. So, as far as our own, I look at the other team's stats, but I didn't know where we ranked, but I knew we'd been running the ball pretty good the first 2 games, obviously. But Wofford, we've talked about them a little bit before. I have tremendous respect for Coach Ayers, and he's done it for a long time and been extremely successful. To be in that same category is pretty special.
You do have the and right now I think the numbers bear out, Coach, that you're running about 8.5 times to 1. Does that sound like kind of the ratio that makes sense, or does that sort of thing matter to you?
Well, you can't really worry about our run-pass ratio because it's going to change game to game, and it changes basically based upon what you're seeing defensively and how well we are executing, one phase or the other. We had the national semifinal game last year. We didn't even attempt to pass. Now, we ran for almost 600 yards. And then we've had games where we've thrown for 200 yards. So it's just it's one of those things with this style of offense. We're going to run the football. If we're going to win, we're going to have to run the football effectively. And there are games where that opens up the passing game tremendously. So it just kind of depends on the opponent.
We have lots to talk about on the show this evening. Again, our new number is 725-0989, 725-0989. A little later on, we'll give you some quotes from the coach at Charleston Southern, Jamie Chadwell, and we'll talk about some of their personnel, talk about how much familiarity the staffs have between them and whether that makes much of a difference or not. But we've got a lot of things to talk about with the coach. Just getting started. This is the Mike Houston Radio Show, and we are live from Kickin' Chicken, their West Ashley location, where tonight it's trivia night starting at 9 o'clock. So our show ends at 8. Trivia night starts tonight at 9 here at this particular location. They have lots of different football drink specials all day, every day during football season at all 5 locations. You can get $12 buckets of Budweiser, Bud Light, and Mick Ultra, and $4 pints of Goose Island Seasonal. Those are some of the items that you can get on special as you go out to a Kickin' Chicken location. All 5 locations, all day, every day during football season. This is the Mike Houston Radio Show, and we are live from Kickin' Chicken in West Ashley. More with the coach when we return in just a couple of moments on Sports Radio 1450.
It's the final week of Ashley Furniture Home Store's spectacular Labor Day event.
Style, selection, service, quality, value. See what everyone is talking about. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Charleston Crab House has been serving locals and visitors alike for the last 20 years. We have our crispy whole flounder. We have the seared ahi tuna. You name it, in the seafood business, we have it.
Be sure to stop by the Tiger and Leaf Lounge whenever you visit our locations. We have many frozen and specialty drinks, awesome margaritas. One of my favorites is the Wapu Punch.
If you don't like it down in the historic district, come over to James Island, sit on the Intercoastal Waterway. It is an unbelievable view where it's southern seafood at sensible prices and a darn good time.
Welcome back to the Kickin' Chicken in West Ashley and the Mike Houston Radio Show. Welcome back. I'm the host, Mike Legg, and the coach and I here until 8 o'clock to talk about the upcoming ball game for the Citadel as they'll take on Charleston Southern. Again, just a mere 17 miles separating their two stadiums. The Bulldogs lead the all-time series 5-2. They've outscored the Buccaneers 293 to 141. That's an average of 42 to 20, but this is the first game that will be played at CSU Stadium. They have added some seats to accommodate what they're expecting to be an overflow crowd on that evening, and they have some plans to expand that stadium permanently over the next 5 years or so, taking their capacity up to over 5,000. We've talked about this a little bit in other ways this week, but there is some familiarity based on where you've been, where your staff has been, and where the staff at Charleston Southern has been. You know some of these guys. You've played against some of these guys. Is that sort of thing talked about, and is it overblown? Does it matter much at all, Coach, with stuff like that? What's your take?
Well, a little, and then again, no, not at all. I mean, you know, we've played against Jamie. Probably this will be our fourth matchup. with me and several of my coaches and him and some of his coaches. So when he was at North Greenville, we were at Lenore Rhine and faced 3 times there. But so we're familiar to a degree. But, it's a different program. We're a different program. We have different players now. It's a different setting, and we both have evolved on both sides of the ball. But, the one thing that we know just from playing against his teams in the past is we know how they're going to play. They're going to play hard-nosed, physical, football just like our kids are. And, they're going to be well coached. They're going to be very disciplined. So, a lot of similarities, I think, probably in philosophy of the way each of us run our programs. So, we kind of know what to expect from that standpoint.
I've had an opportunity to read a little bit, listen in on some interviews that Coach Chadwell has done. Some of the things he has said, there were some words you just used that were used when he talked a little bit too. I'll share a few of those quotes. He says they have not seen the combo of size and speed they've seen, meaning you have seen so far this year. They have not kept an intensity up for 4 quarters, which is an area that they may be just a bit concerned about. They must sustain a high level to hang in the game, try to be the physical football team. Says the Citadel will be disciplined and fundamental. And their last ball game against Campbell, and I was there to take a look at it, said they didn't play well in any phase in the first half of that ball game. Overall, special teams and offense especially, they played well in the second half. Trying to make this a rival game, and there's, again, a big difference in the competition that's been faced. The key word is discipline. And those are some of the things that Coach Chadwell has noticed. No surprises, really, when it comes right down to it. He feels like you've faced some very, very good football teams, and you have.
We have. But at the end of the day, and I said this the other day at my press conference, is, Jamie didn't have control of his schedule. He wasn't there when it was scheduled, and I don't have control of ours. I wasn't here when ours was scheduled. So you play who's on there, And, the reality is we played 2 very, very good football teams, and, they've played 3 that they've beaten pretty handily, but they're a good football team. I mean, it's not his fault that, the teams they lined up against, could not compete on a great level with them. I think that speaks a lot for where the program at Charleston Southern is now compared to where maybe it was 5 or 10 years ago. People that have not kept up with them very closely, I'll tell you this, they're nothing like what they used to be. I mean, they are a good football team, and they are one that, we're going to have to play very, very well Saturday night up there in order to have a chance to win. They're just, you look at them, the 2 deep on both sides of the football. They're veteran, juniors and seniors on both sides. They have some extremely talented transfer players that have been impactful in the first 3 games. And they're playing with a ton of confidence. They won 10 ball games last year. They're 3-0 right now. And I'll tell you, momentum and confidence in our sport at the college level is, it makes up for a lot sometimes. So, I think they're a good football team.
Let's break them down a little bit, talking about their offense. First of all, they're listed as a spread option type of an attack. They've got a quarterback that transferred from UAB and played at that level and played well at that level in Austin Brown. If you would just kind of go around what you're going to see out of them offensively.
Yeah, they're going to run a variation of the triple option offense, similar to ours. They're going to do it from the shotgun formation. They're going to do it with a lot of different spread out formations, but it's still, they believe in running the football effectively. And they do have a very talented quarterback, Austin Brown, who started at UAB as a freshman, was the Conference USA Freshman of the Year as a freshman, and is a very, very talented player. But he is surrounded by, talented players as well. They have a big veteran offensive line that, played a lot of snaps last year, a lot of experience coming back there from last year. And then Christian Reyes, who was a transfer from a junior college in Oregon, ran for 1,200 yards last year. Very durable back, hard-nosed, physical football player, just very, 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 very solid. And then they've got at the wide-out positions, at the other running back position, and at tight end they have kids that have speed, players that have experience, and they just play really, really well together. So, I think they're averaging 35, 36 points a game right now. Obviously doing a lot of things right.
Just to give you an indication of how good Reyes is, he is, barring anything unforeseen, going to be their all-time leading rusher. Only needs somewhere in the 330 yards area to get close to doing that sort of thing. So you don't get to those heights unless you're an awfully good football player. We want to continue with that just a little bit and talk about a couple of other things that have to do with this Charleston Southern football team. Again, a reminder that our number has changed to call in and talk to the coach at 725-0989, 725-0989. We're at the West Ashley location of Kickin' Chicken, and want to remind you that this weekend all of your games are going to be on the televisions at Kickin' Chicken locations all across the Low Country, including the Citadel at Charleston Southern game. They'll have it live streaming at their locations, and so you'll be able to see the game this weekend if you want to come by and do so here at their 5 different restaurants, again, across the Low Country. Lots to talk about with the coach, and we'll continue in just a few moments with Coach Mike Houston from Kickin' Chicken on Sports Radio 1450. That are going on in conjunction with this game and the next game. Wanted to mention that the Citadel Brigadier Foundation is auctioning off the jerseys that the team will wear in the Gardner Webb game 1 week from Saturday. And if you'd like to bid on your own jersey number, your favorite number, or even the number representing your class year, you'll have the opportunity to do that. So don't miss out on that opportunity. That jersey auction is already underway. It'll end on November the 3rd. They would make a great Christmas gift, if nothing else, birthday gift as well. And a lot of people like to talk about how jerseys are different from game to game, Coach. And you guys have had some interesting ideas with not just jerseys, but helmets. And I know Kevin Yeager gets a lot of the credit for some of those things. But you got a sneak peek as to what the club will be wearing on that particular game?
Well, for the Gardner Webb game, we're wearing, I think it's the 1960-61 Tangerine Bowl team,
Gotcha.
The throwback jersey that's a replica of that team, which was a very successful time in Citadel's history, and kind of to honor that season and in that bowl game win, and Kevin has a lot of ideas, and I have to rein him in every once in a while because I do believe in staying, pretty true to your tradition, as a program. And yet, kind of like Notre Dame or a lot of schools, Ohio State, you may see some things change a little, but when the University of Alabama plays, you know what they're going to look like. And I believe in tradition from that standpoint. But, the kids really like, some of the ideas with the throwback jerseys or the Navy jersey we'll wear at some point this year that has the honor, duty, respect, the slogans of the Citadel on the back of the jerseys. They get excited about it.
Yep, it'll be neat. That's coming up for the Gardner-Webb game, the next home game, which is a week from this coming Saturday. But at this Saturday's game, in particular, there is one area that we want to invite you to attend, and that would be the Somerville Citadel Club is having a little tailgating deal at 2694 Lake Park Drive. Everyone's welcome there. It's kind of behind the home stands at CSU Stadium, and so that group is going to be working hard to get some things together, and I do happen to know there are some guys who know a little something about tailgating food that are going to be in that area, and therefore that might be a really neat thing to do if you're planning to attend before you go inside to the game that day. In all, 3 of the Citadel's 5 non-conference games are against the Big South. This Saturday, not included. That league is ranked 7th among 13 FCS leagues according to the Sports Network, and the Southern Conference ranks number 6. So it makes good sense, it would seem to me, that those 2 leagues would match up once in a while. I would think you could get a good read out of what your team is like by playing teams like that.
Well, and that's the Big South Conference. I think them and Charleston Southern, kind of have paralleled each other. I think that's a conference that maybe 10 years ago was not as strong as the Southern Conference, not even close, obviously at that time. But, over time they have gotten better and better and better. And you look at the competitive, how competitive they've been, with Coastal Carolina making a pretty deep playoff run last year. Head-to-head, I think the Big South actually hasn't been difference. And, you had last week PC beat Furman. The week before, Furman edged Gardner-Webb. We've got Gardner-Webb coming up in a few weeks. It's pretty good from a region standpoint because you have a lot of schools in those 2 conferences regionally, and they have improved their level of play to the point where it's just a good parity between the 2 leagues.
The Citadel is 14-3 against Big South competition since that conference began sponsoring football in 2002. It looks a little different this year. VMI comes over to the Southern Conference, replaced by Monmouth in the Big South. Kennesaw State's going to start playing football next season and get that league back to 7 members. The Southern Conference has changed some too, with some defections and some new coming in, VMI, Mercer, schools like that. And so both of those leagues have evolved to a degree, and so far the Citadel has been pretty good in games against teams from that league. You're going to be in a situation too that some teams have already done this, but they haven't always had lights where you're going to play on Saturday night, and this will be a game under the lights again.
Sure, and they've done a lot of upgrades to their facility in the last 5 years, and really the last 3 significant upgrades. Hank Small, their athletic director, is a former football coach, and knows the importance of the facilities for for recruiting and just attracting people to to games there. And they've got a brand new field house there that's really, really nice. And then got the lights going in. I know they have another phase coming in that project, so they're doing a lot of work to upgrade the facility that they have there on campus.
With regards to an off week, you always talk about this, and I think earlier this week you talked about wanting to see continued improvement. Did you see it?
Yeah, and I think we have, and we've worked a lot with some of the younger kids, trying to get them coming along as far as contributing. As the season wears on, you're going to see a few more freshmen playing, which I'm really excited about. And even still, we are. Still the first year with the older kids. And so there's, some scheme stuff that they're getting used to as well. The best thing is The kids have bought into what we're doing. They're practicing very, very hard. We had a very spirited end of practice today, and they're excited to get out there and play Saturday night, and I'm excited for them.
I'm glad you used the word freshman because it was something I wanted to talk about as we went along here this evening, and that is to say that a total of 15 freshmen, true or redshirt, have played in your first 2 ball games. 9 of the 15 true freshmen, and in all, there are 17 redshirt freshmen and 45 true freshmen on the Bulldogs roster. Charleston Southern has played 20 of them, 10 true and 10 redshirt. And they have 11 freshmen on their depth chart. The Citadel has 15 throughout the depth chart. And so both of you, you and Coach Chadwell, are giving young guys an opportunity to put their feet in the fire.
Yeah, and traditionally I've preferred the redshirt kids, and I think your program, as it improves, I think you'll see that more and more because – and Jamie knows this too. You win with juniors and seniors, and you look at his starting lineups across the board, and that's what he has. You don't want to have to depend on young kids because they just don't have the experience yet, and they're 18 years old. There's a big difference between an 18-year-old kid and a 22-year-old man, and that's what you have when you have a fifth-year senior. So, yeah, we're having to play some, but that's. And we're excited about that because now next year they'll be an experienced sophomore and be a much better player for it.
It is always, when I take a look at kids and they have freshmen next to their name and they played a lot when they're sophomores and as freshmen, I always think, wow, the kid must be pretty good. Just like kind of what you said, a lot of times you would prefer not to play those kids in year number 1. And so when they have played as a freshman, that tells me they're a pretty good freshman.
Yeah, well, and it also depends on what the depth of that position looks like. There's some players that get redshirted that are better players in the long run than a kid that played as a freshman. So it just depends on the program, depends on the position, and the depth there, and a lot of factors. But obviously, if you're a freshman playing in college football, you got a lot of promise.
I have made a big deal this year about offensive line play, particularly at the Citadel, because you've had guys who've played every snap. Your starters have played all 143 snaps so far this season. You have had the indefinite suspension of Victor Hill, so
right.
I guess that would change that for this week. Is that the plan?
It'll change this week, and Victor made a mistake. He's paying the consequences for that, and he's an outstanding young man. He's had a great career on and off the field at the Citadel, and he'll be back, and hopefully we'll learn from this and have a productive rest of the year. But there'll be a opportunity for somebody else to get in there and play this Saturday. And I always tell my kids about the Wally Pipp story. He was playing for the Yankees and had a day where I've heard 2 different versions of it. I heard he had a little bit of a late night and come in the next day with a pretty bad headache and told the manager he was taking the day off, and so they played this young player named Lou Gehrig, and he never got the spot back. So you always got to be ready for your opportunity, and when your opportunity comes, you never know when that's going to be the opportunity that you make the most of, and all of a sudden you emerge as a player that's a significant contributor the rest of the year.
Charleston Southern is starting a senior, a junior, and 3 sophomores on the offensive line. At least that's what they're expected to do coming up on Saturday night. The Citadel depth chart would show freshman Derek Freeland starting at right tackle in place of Victor Hill. That would mean, if that holds out, a freshman, 2 redshirt freshmen, a sophomore, and a junior in charge of blocking for the triple option on Saturday evening. So that's a young bunch.
It's a young bunch. The great positive on that is that group has played pretty good this year, and we've got them back next year, and the bulk of them back the year after that. So, with that consistency will come better performance, and they are really coming around and really embracing, Coach Boyd's coaching style and our style of play. And so I'm really excited to see how much they continue to improve throughout this season and on into the next. 725-0989 if you want to talk to the coach. 725-0989.
We'll take a timeout from Kickin' Chicken and come back with more in just a few moments. Want to remind you that Monday Night Football is a special night at Kickin' Chicken's 5 locations. 24 wings for $13.99. That's available for dine-in only after 4 o'clock on Mondays when Monday Night Football is being played in the NFL. So lots of specials at Kickin' Chicken. You got to give them a try if you haven't done it, or give them a try for the 100th time if you've been there 99. Back with the coach in just a few moments from Kickin' Chicken on Sports Radio 1450. Until the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. A big game coming up on Saturday as the Citadel takes on Charleston Southern at CSU Stadium. Again, just 17 miles separate the two stadiums that each team plays their home games in. 725-0989, 725-0989 if you have questions or comments for the coach in this particular program. And big game coming up this week, as we mentioned. We've talked a little bit about what the other side is saying. One thing I was going to kind of continue on just a little bit, and that also kind of tying into the news of the day. He's not your problem anymore, but Jameis Winston is in the news, and I got to wondering locally and relatably, a situation like discipline issues happen from time to time. Right. Those things go on. I'll ask you straight out, because I did mention this to you before we started the show. You're not in the same situation pressure-wise in this instance as Jimbo Fisher is, so it's hard to step into his shoes a little bit. But right. He suspends Winston for the first half against Clemson in a huge game coming up on Saturday. What would you have done in the same situation?
Well, first thing I'd say is I don't think you can ever accurately comment on what you would do, because I don't walk in Jimbo Fisher's shoes. He didn't walk in mine either. As far as the pressure is self-imposed by coaches. I mean, we want to win just as bad as anybody at Florida State does. And, yeah, there's some national attention there with them and Clemson, but there's also a lot of regional attention here with us in Charleston Southern. I always feel like you've got to you have rules, you have beliefs, you have morals that you believe in, and I talk to our kids about their last name being the Citadel. And I've talked about that on here before, just that they represent themselves, our program, They represent me as a head coach. They represent our institution. And with that comes a tremendous amount of accountability. And we're going to make sure that our players represent us in the way that the Citadel deserves to be represented. And that, with that being said, there's a certain expectation for for how they're going to behave themselves and how they're going to conduct themselves, and how they're going to interact with everyone on and off campus. So I don't know what I would do in that particular situation, but just from what I've heard, I would deal with it very sternly if one of our players had had been involved doing something like that. But you never know what kind of backstory there is that the media is not covering or whatever.
I've been accused, as I age, of fitting right into the grumpy old man circumstance. And so a lot of people say that kids are different than they were when when I played, when I was younger, whatever the case may be. Are kids that different?
Well, obviously they're going to be different because the world's different. And I think the biggest thing is you have the media, social media, all the tremendous attention that sports garners in the public eye, to where you can't do much of anything without somebody having a camera or a microphone or something like that, whether it's a cell phone or something else that they're recording and capturing everything you do and everything you say. And with social media, when you post it, just like we talked about with Victor's situation there, it's out there. So yeah, they are different because the world's different, but they're still human beings just like we were when we were age, and they're going to make mistakes, and hopefully we can educate them on the front end and be proactive and prevent a lot of them, and when they do make mistakes, then that they'll learn from them and be a better person for that. So it's just some things get blown way out of proportion, I feel like, and that's unfortunate. But then again, there's some things that maybe weren't brought to attention years ago that are, and that's a very positive thing, like what's going on with the NFL right now.
You had mentioned earlier that this week's game will be 2 weeks since the last time you stepped onto the football field. So have you, a lot of times when you have a week when you don't play, you'll heal up. But I don't know that you had a ton of injuries in the first place. No. But I was going to ask about the overall health of your team.
We're fine. I mean, I credit that to two people primarily, in addition to our kids, is Donnell Boucher, who did a great job with our summer strength and conditioning program, and we had our entire roster, they're here for the bulk of the summer. And then Andy Clausen, our longtime trainer, been here 42 years and does a great job taking care of us. So, those two people have really done a great job of preparing our roster. And the kids have done everything we've asked from that standpoint. And I think that's really went a long ways towards us staying healthy so far.
I want to get back to Charleston Southern just a little bit. We talked about their offense to a degree, and you mentioned Austin Brown, their quarterback, but they also have played their other two quarterbacks as well. They've played Krogan, who's a local product, and they've also played Saunders. Is it by design that you see more than one quarterback out of them, or is it by some necessity during a game?
Well, the last game against Campbell, Krogan came in the third series the first half, the third series the second half. So obviously that was by design. And, there's a young man that played a lot last year as a freshman and had a very good season, good athlete. Alex, or Austin Brown is a first-year transfer, so he's only been with the program since, last January. So there may be some things that Coach Chadwell feels more comfortable with Krogan doing within a triple option offense that maybe maybe Austin Brown has not mastered just yet, and that'll come with timing. But just like with us and Dominique and Aaron, if you're going to run a triple option offense where the quarterback is a runner, you'd better have more than one capable player. So, and they've got to be prepared to play, because you never know which snap is going to be the snap where the next guy's got to go in there and play. So I would say a little bit of both.
You see your guys every day. You see Dominique Allen and how he prepares and how he practices. But a lot of people were exposed to him for the first time against Florida State. Right. How do you feel about the future when Aaron's gone?
Well, we feel good. And, Dominique's there. We have another freshman that we're redshirting, Sean Belton, who's from up around the Columbia area, Lugoff. And I think both of them have bright futures. Dominique and Sean, too, both, being young players, are going to improve physically a lot with our strength and conditioning program over the next couple of years. But we feel very good about them. I'm not in any hurry to get rid of Aaron Miller. I think the world of him. So, but those two guys will leave us in good hands after Aaron graduates.
So, give us a little bit of a preview on how Charleston Southern lines up on defense that Aaron's going to see, your other offensive guys are going to see. Tell us exactly what those guys do.
Well, they've been primarily probably their roots are in a 50 style defense, similar to ours, but they play a 4-down front a lot as well. Last year against the Citadel, they played a lot of different looks. They played a 3-3 stack and some other things. So they're pretty versatile. But the thing that stands out is they play much the way we want to play. They're going to play very, very hard. They have some very good interior defensive linemen that are going to play very well Saturday, I'm sure. Their safety, Demarius Freeman, who's a redshirt senior, fifth-year player, very, very good safety. And really both their safeties are very physical run supporters. So you're going to see a bunch that's going to look very comfortable against our offense because they have to defend their offense in spring practice and during preseason camp. And you're going to see a bunch that's going to be very aggressive and run around very well. They have a lot of experience there coming back from last season. So, we've got a work cut out for us Saturday night.
Bring up a good point about seeing the same kinds of offense that the other team is going to run. Obviously, when you're more comfortable in a situation, you're going to perform better in it. You're going to perform in a more relaxed setting.
Yeah.
You're not going to see anything from their offense other than player ability that you haven't practiced against to a degree. So there's that interesting little dynamic that goes on both sides with this game.
Right, and that our kids are getting more and more comfortable in our scheme and playing faster, and that's the big thing. When they can be so comfortable schematically with everything where they don't have to think and they can just react and play, you'll see them play faster and more aggressive. And that's the thing we're really impressing upon them is, let's try to clear up all the cobwebs each day, to where you can just go out and just play and use your God-given ability, to go out there and have fun and fly around and play the game of football the way we believe it's supposed to be played. So I think that's what they've gotten to that point now, and our kids are getting closer and closer to that point.
Want to look at some of the stats for the season. The Citadel leads the Southern Conference in 6 statistical categories. Rushing offense, as I mentioned before, tied with Wofford, and those two teams are tied for first in America in rushing yards per game at 304. No one has sacked your quarterback yet, which that puts you in a good spot. Now you move him around a little bit, that helps, but no one has been able to sack Aaron Miller. You're 53% on third down, which leads the league. Penalties, which is one of those interesting things. I looked at Charleston Southern, and they have 22 penalties after 3 ball games, so about 7 per ball game if you average it out. And you have 6 on the season, and they were all in the very first game of the year. And so that's where something kind of interesting plays in there. Do you feel like your team has to kind of play with that low margin of error with where you are in the program right now?
Well, I talk to our kids about doing things that good football teams do, and that's one of them. Penalties, if you're on offense, it's going to put you behind on the chains, and you never want to be in that situation because it's a heck of a lot easier to call a game at 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5 than it is 2nd and 12. And then defensively, you never want to give the offense, anything without making them earn it. We talk about making teams drive the football on us. We don't want to give them anything, whether it's a big play or a penalty or anything like that. So it's a big factor for us, and it's something we really harp on, throughout practice. We have consequences during practice. We have consequences after football games, for penalties and stuff like that. At the same time, we're pushing our kids to play with more and more edge each week. We've got to be a physical football team in order to be effective doing what we do, and so that's something that's really takes a lot of work to be able to play that way and then not have penalties.
The Citadel also ranks first in opponents' 4th down conversions, red zone offense. They're perfect 3 for 3, all touchdowns when they get into the opponent's 20-yard line, and so that's how things look up statistically with regards to the Southern Conference. Time for a break. We'll come back to the Kickin' Chicken in just a couple of moments with Coach Houston. Also, you're welcome to give us a buzz, 725-0989, 725-0989. We will be joining the Atlanta Braves broadcast right after ours is finished up here in just a little bit from right now. Also, at the Kickin' Chicken, they have live music every Friday night at all 5 locations, something you can count on as a staple when you visit a Kickin' Chicken location in the Low Country. More with the coach when we return on Sports Radio 1450. Back at Kickin' Chicken in West Ashley, this is the Mike Houston Radio Show, and we are in our final segment of the night, and we'll take it right up to the top of the hour. The Charleston Southern game is coming up next, and that is Saturday night. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff from CSU Stadium, and we are on the air at 4 o'clock that day with the pregame shows. Can't come in to watch the game? Don't forget to place your tailgate orders for wing and nugget platters to carry out or for delivery from all locations of the Kickin' Chicken. Visit kickinchicken.com for more information about that. Big game coming up. It's CSU against the Bulldogs of the Citadel. And then it's you got 10 straight ball games after that bye week, Coach, and you'll in no time at all, you'll be landing in conference play in your first season in the Southern Conference. How much attention do you pay to what other teams in the league do leading up to the season, especially when it's several weeks away?
Well, not a whole lot. And the reason I say that is, you just got to focus on yourself and whatever opponents you're facing each week. And people would be shocked at just how much you just engross yourself in each opponent. And there's so much planning that goes into each ball game, hours upon hours, with film and time with your players and discussions on different ways to handle a variety of things. And it's just you have to stay focused on just that one opponent, and then you got to flip that switch. As soon as that ball game's over, you got to flip that switch quickly to the next one. And it's just kind of a never-ending cycle throughout the season. But I'll tell you one thing, and this is the great experience I've had the past several years, is when you get on a roll and you start building some momentum and playing really, really well, it is really a lot of fun to be in a stretch like that going throughout the season. And our goal is to bring that kind of feeling back to the program here, and we're really excited about the challenge.
When you look at games on paper, as a lot of people do, you
Right.
see, well, here's the top-ranked team in FBS in week
Right.
2. Here's the 5th-ranked team in FCS in week number 1.
Right.
But then in your final 10 ball games, yes, there are a couple of ranked opponents in FCS, but to me, and especially the way I saw with the way the team played against Florida State, I don't see a game in the final 10 that you couldn't be in or win. Would you
Right.
agree? I
would agree. Now, I've told our kids, and I try to be very, very honest with them. And I always tell them I'll never lie to them. I'm always going to be upfront and honest with them that there is not one game on our schedule from here on out that I don't think we have a great chance to win. And also, there's not one game on our schedule from here on out that I don't think our opponent doesn't have a great chance to win. I just think there's a lot of parity in the league, and I think that we're going to have a chance to win our fair share. We just got to continue to improve and continue to build some positive confidence and momentum.
One of the things with regards to the league that I have noticed that is interesting is that Furman is struggling right now. Now, you're not going to see them for a significant period of time, but that's a program that's always got some momentum and some tradition, and they've had some bad luck so far.
Well, they lost their starting quarterback last week, and so they're playing their backup, and he's a young kid, and but we play him late in the year, and by then he's going to be an experienced player. Yeah. So I'd like to have him right now, but I have a feeling Coach Fowler, I've known him for a long time and got to know him real well when he was at Vanderbilt. And he'll do a great job, and they'll be clicking along by the time we see him late in the year.
When you talk a lot about coaches that you have some experience with or
Right.
some familiarity with, how have you gotten much feedback about what others saw your team do against Florida State, for example?
Well, I've gotten a lot of positive from just from a lot of people that saw that game because it was televised nationally, and I think everybody was really they were really impressed with how our kids competed. And I guess that's the best thing to say. And I was too. I felt like that for 60 minutes they went out there and they played with tremendous intensity and didn't back down and did so many positive things. And that was what was so great coming out of that game. Now, at the end of the day, that doesn't matter any now. Nothing that we've done in the past matters. It only matters what we're going to do Saturday night. So we've got to just continue to improve, continue to build upon the things we've done so far.
Now, this is not something that you experienced because you weren't the head coach yet, but the opener of last season was Charleston Southern.
Right.
The game was tight. The Citadel jumped out to a 16-0 lead, but they came back. They ended up taking the lead on a field goal, I guess about 6 minutes to go. A couple of drives ended in failed fourth down conversions, and so that one kind of got away a little bit. Do you
Right. feel
like there are players on your roster who remember that very well, and it's been something that they've been wanting to try to make amends for to a degree?
Absolutely. That one game was it was a big game for both programs. There was a lot of expectations coming into the year last year for the Citadel with a big senior class and a lot of experience returning from the year before. And then Charleston Southern, a young program last year, and that game really set the tone for both programs for the season. So our kids got a pretty sour taste in their mouth about that, and I've spoke to a couple of them Sunday night when we were going out for practice, and just mentioned this or that, and got a pretty quick response from them. So that being said, they've got to go out and focus on doing what we do and playing together and relying on the things that they've been taught in order to win the ball game. But there will be a lot of added extra stuff from both sides. So it should be a pretty exciting game.
Because when you have a bad taste in your mouth for 55 weeks, that's a really long time now.
Yeah, it is. So, but like I said, both programs. Jamie does a good job with motivating his kids also. So both programs, I'd say, will be pretty fired up to play Saturday night, which will make for a great game for the fans to watch.
The Charleston Southern Club is 3-0. The Citadel represents their second Division I opponent. The Buccaneers open the season with a 61-9 win over Point, which is NAIA. They followed it up with a 16-10 decision over Division II Newberry. Now, I had heard a lot of good things about Newberry. They're a pretty good D2 team, I assume.
They're in the South Atlantic Conference, which we came from being at Lenore-Rhine, and they're top half of the conference team. Always talented, tremendous athletes, and Todd Knight's been there for a while and does a good job. And so, that win over Newberry is a good, solid win, because that's, the top end of that league would be extremely competitive in SoCon. And I've talked before just about, what we were fortunate enough to have at Lenore-Rhine and what Carson Newman had at their program and some of the teams in that league like that.
They had a very short week to prepare for Campbell, played them on a Thursday night, and at halftime of that game, what would it be, 6 nights ago, they were down 10-9, or 10-7 rather, but they turned on the Jets to win 34-10 in the second half. So 3 ball games for them so far. They're outscoring the opposition 37-10. They have a 389 to 199 advantage in total offense. That's 221 to 66 on the ground and 168 to 133 through the air. Their play calling so far has been 72% run, 28% pass, and they have committed just 1 turnover so far. Turnover is a huge statistic, obviously, one that you're in good shape on too.
It's a big stat in last year's game also. And probably if you talk to Coach Higgins, he'd tell you that was the difference in winning and losing that game last year. So I think it'll be a big factor Saturday night. But you mentioned all the stats right there. Like I said before, they play who's on their schedule, and they've played them very, very well and been very successful. So this is a team that's had a lot of success already and coming into the game with a tremendous amount of confidence. So and that confidence and momentum's is tough to handle.
A 10-3 season a year ago. They started 7-0, won at the Citadel, won at Appalachian State, and beat Coastal Carolina. That's a pretty good resume.
Yeah. I mean, good football team. That's I can't say it enough, but the one thing I do know is our bunch is going to be fired up and ready to go Saturday night. At the end of practice today, there's no doubt about it. They're chomping at the bit, and so I'm excited for us to go up there and play in that environment against that team and to see what we can do. So it's going to be a very, very enjoyable game to watch from a fan's perspective on both sides.
One more day of what you'd call heavy lifting as far as practice goes, and so you, I know, hope that today's end of practice carries over nicely into tomorrow.
Right. It will. I have no doubt about that. And the guys are really keyed in and very motivated. So, you got guys like, even though we mentioned a while ago, our roster is pretty youthful. You still have the Aaron Millers and the Jake Stinsons and the Carl Robinsons and the Rock Mohammeds and the Cam Mobleys and Justin Oxendines and those guys that have, played against CSU for several years and, were big factors in that game last year. So those guys are going to, they're going to be ready to go Saturday night.
Speaking of Cam Mobley, he mentioned to me on Monday that the touchdown scored that tied the game last year in the CSU victory was run through his gap.
Right.
So talk about bad taste in your mouth. He remembers it. I know that.
Yeah, he and I talked about it earlier this week. We were watching the film, and they had a little stun on, and he just got caught and ended up getting reached a little bit there, and so he vividly remembers that play, and he's a great young man and off to a good start, and so I'm excited for him Saturday night as well. Big
game for you, Coach.
Yep.
Always appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Thanks a lot, and I want to say thanks to all of our alums who came out tonight. Great crowd here at the Kickin' Chicken. Go Bulldogs. Ready to see you Saturday night.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it very much. We're going to be finishing up our program here this evening And remember, we're going to go back to the Atlanta Braves game, or get into that in just a little bit. They're in a commercial break now, but it was a scoreless game in the third. We want to thank Ted Byrne, who produced our program here this evening, and they always take great care of us here at the Kickin' Chicken, and so we say thank you very much. Thanks again to everybody who joined us. We're on the air Saturday at 4 o'clock. It's a 6 o'clock kickoff at Charleston Southern, and it is a city bragging rights game, if you will, coming up. Look forward to the game, and we thank you very much for joining us tonight at the Kickin' Chicken. I'm Mike Legg for Coach Mike Houston. Thank you very much. Good night. Go Dogs!